talking, dude?
Oh, we're
Well,
live,
see, we
Siddhu.
might want to wait, dude.
No, we're already going. What's
Okay,
the
bro,
issue? Tell me what the issue is, Siddhu. This is gonna be a great
I
beginning.
can hardly hear you because
You can't hear me?
I can hardly hear you, dude. You're cutting in and out super. Yes, I think it's on my end, but I think it's having a trouble downloading the stream and shit. So
Leave
it's
and come
like
back, Siddhu. Leave and
breaking
come back.
out.
Leave and come back in Discord. This
Use
is
it
a
on my phone.
this is the best beginning of the Siddhu Reviewy hour live. All right, he's gone. He'll be back, everyone, in just a moment. This gives me a chance to introduce the show, I guess. This is our new show, the Siddhuey Reviewy hour live with Justin Siddhu, our host. There he is again. Siddhu's having some technical difficulties here on the first night. It's okay though, people. We're gonna grow with Siddhu. You know, we figured why we needed a sports show to make the whole channel seem more whatever. So we brought in the one and the only Mr. Sports Analyst himself, Justin Siddhu. We're going to do more than just sports. We're going to get into other topics on other episodes, stuff of that nature. But here we are, first episode in. Siddhuey Reviewy live hour special. Siddhu's also worried about the hour not being an hour.
Hella spoilers, Jer.
And yeah, so that's that. Oh, geez, McGee's. I didn't have chat pulled up. I will pull it up so I can see what's going on as well. Oh, wait, do I have it pulled up? Oh, I do. I see Jaron there now. Cool. All right, Siddhu, can you hear me good or what?
Yeah, I can hear you good for right now, but I'm not promising anything. This could go left very quickly in a hurry. So yeah, let's get after it.
Okay. Well, that's not a good start to the show, but here we are. All right, Justin. So I felt like the best topic to talk about for the first episode, especially because it's popping off this week, was going to be the NBA playoffs, or just the NBA season now that it's to a wrap and we're into the playoffs. What was your vibe on the season? What are you looking forward into the playoffs? These kinds of questions. So I know you sent me some different links too that we'll get into in a second, but why don't you just give us a quick recap on this year's normal season?
Well, there's a lot to recap.
You talk, Siddhu. There's someone at my door. You talk.
Okay, well, I'll talk to Jair, who's probably watching right now. There was a lot to deal with this season. There was a lot of good teams. There was a lot of bad teams as well. The NBA has the greatest prospect ever coming into the league, in Victor Wembanyama, who's in from France. And this dude is about 7'3", 7'4", I think. Who can fucking who can shoot threes? Don't tell Tubi I said that. And who can shoot threes, and can absolutely dominate in every facet of the game.
Jesus,
so this caused a lot of teams to want to tank Victor Wembanyama. And we've talked about tanking before, me and you, Tubi, and a lot of other people about what that means. So there were quite a few teams that wanted to tank because they wanted to get Victor. I don't have a clever name for that, but it was tanking for Victor. But I think the larger thing that might be kind of interesting to talk about is the NBA had, I think, declining ratings for like third, fourth straight year. Don't hold me to that. I'm high right now, and I haven't looked that up, but I think it's something like that. And there's a lot that goes into why that is. Why is the NBA? Now, part of it is just like the disconnect of cable. Like there's just a lot of people who are not looking at cable, and or they're unplugging, they're using illegal streams at times, or they're using their friends, whatever it might be. So there's that is a general decline of TV ratings across the board. So sports is not particular to that, but or basketball is not particular to that, but they are one of the many that are in that problem. So the reason I bring it up with the NBA is there were several high-profile instances of fans coming to watch certain players play and those players not playing. There were national TV games where we were like, people were really excited for them. The game comes around, it's like, oh, Jokic isn't playing, Giannis isn't playing. It's like, well, there goes a Nuggets Bucks game from being interesting. We've had games like Embiid against Jokic is a great example where like Embiid's out. Okay, then that matchup goes away. And it's causing a lot of angst amongst the fans, and rightfully so, because this is a star-driven game, and when the stars don't play, no one really wants to watch. And that's an issue, right? And you're creating this culture that's like regular season has no value, and all that matters is just getting ready for the postseason. Well, that devalues a product, and that makes fans fall out of love with the product. And the NBA, I think, is seriously trying to address this. The new CBA that got signed kind of addresses some of these things. I'm not going to bore you with some of those details, but the point is they are. What I find interesting is the league has probably the most amount of talent it's had in maybe its history. Yet it's facing the least amount of interest that it's probably had in about 20 years. So that's a concerning relationship, and there's going to be coming a time when LeBron leaves, and like him or not, LeBron's a big ratings driver. If he goes, that means more people are leaving. So there has to be a serious conversation about all of these players to play all the time, or at least getting them to play like in the major games that matter. There's also an issue of players changing teams so often, so we don't have rivalries, things like that, and maybe having more marketable stars. It's weird to say that because the stars are really kind of marketable, but it just seems like for some reason they're not connecting with people. It makes sense with people like Ja Morant when they're going around shooting people, but like someone like Giannis, like he should be more like I don't understand when people are not more connected to him. So anyway, I just think that was an interesting topic. Obviously, it's maybe not, but like it's an interesting topic about the NBA ratings and them declining. And also the other thing I think to mention is, and this ties into the playoffs, there's a lot of parity this season. Like the Western Conference, I have no clue who's coming out. And usually like you have a pretty good idea at this point in the season who's coming into the, who's going to be in the finals from the West or any conference for that matter.
Well, hold on. Let me throw in a question right here. More so than that, before you get into the playoffs, was there a team that you were surprised didn't even make it into the play-in that at the beginning of the season you thought was going to make it even into the playoffs? Did anyone surprise you that didn't make it in? Before we get into the teams that did make it in.
The Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks were in the Western Conference Finals last year against the Golden State Warriors. This year they did not even make the play-in. So the Dallas Mavericks would be the answer to that question as far as like a surprise. There was a lot of turmoil there. It's interesting to an extent, but I don't really want to go into that too much.
You could say exactly who overall, it was. You could say it.
Say who was what? Kyrie?
It's the curse of Kyrie.
It's not Kyrie's fault. It's really not. Like the situation and like yeah, sure, it'd be funny to blame Kyrie, but I think he plays a small role in this. I think there's a lot bigger roles with the front office, the decisions they made, and just how bad those decisions were and the consequences of that. And Kyrie's kind of holding the baby or something, if you will, but like he's really not the source of those problems, and he's not the reason they're in the situation that they're in. So Kyrie, he's just an easy punching bag in this particular case, but he's not really the issue. So I wouldn't say anything about Kyrie. I would just say like the issue it generally in the league, aside from Kyrie, is there's no dominant team. And the NBA is different to the NFL, where the NFL benefits from having any team that could possibly win. The NBA, you need like a dominant team. People want to see like true dominant team, and they want to see people try to knock that team off. When the Warriors were at their best, the ratings were pretty high, or like higher than they are at this point. Yeah. For example, so when the Miami Heat were at their best, the ratings were really high. So you want a dominant team, we don't have one. So that's also an issue. So that's there's a lot more I can talk about the NBA as far as like getting into the minutia of like every team, and I can bore you to death about like their bench, it's not coming around, bro. But really the main brushstrokes are superstars not playing in big games, not playing at all in a lot of cases, really crazy tanking because of Victor Wembanyama. Like Damian Lillard, like just not playing the last like 15 games because he's just like, we're tanking for Victor, which is crazy. Then you also have like the parity in the league and the fact that really it would not be a surprise if a handful of different teams won. So that's pretty crazy. Anyway, yeah, something to think about while I turn on my light.
Let me ask. Are you to turn on light? Okay, everybody. If you have some questions, man, I guess this is Jer. Make sure you ask them in the chat, Jer. Or whoever else is watching. Somebody else is watching. Maybe it's just Siddhuey. Siddhuey, my question for you before we get into the playoff stuff is: I felt like this regular season there was a lot of like, I don't want to call them fights. I've mentioned this to you before, but there was a lot of like little tussles, little
skirmishes.
tussles, little skirmishes, little pushing. Even so much to say that a lot of teammates even getting into it. Little shoves of teammates and yelling at teammates, and we're seeing it from the camera view from the yeah. Do you feel like that? Did you notice that? Was that the most you've seen in the last decade? I know back in like the 80s and even before that it was more. There was more fights and things that used to happen. But did you feel like this year was a lot more chipper?
I did. I think that's a really good perception. I think I agree with you that there was. It felt a little bit. It felt weird, like because to your point, like you don't expect that. There's a really funny quote about from Anthony Edwards where he's just like, if I see two guys trying to get into it, like I don't even walk over there because it's just like they're not going to do anything. Like, and why get a foul? You know what I mean? He's like, I just wait. So it's like it was different this year, but the incident stemmed from like certain players in weird situations, like the Lakers and Shannon Sharp and the Memphis Grizzlies, which is just saying those three things together is kind of bizarre, to think about. There's that, and then like the stuff you said on the bench, that stuff is interesting. That is the Rudy Gobert situation is so interesting because Rudy Gobert.
Hold on. Let me click on that because I know we have that. That's one of your articles. Here we go. Okay. I just wanted to get it on screen. Go ahead, Siddhuey. I'm sorry.
So Rudy Gobert is basically like he's the league's biggest punching bag at this point. He's someone that essentially the entire league believes started COVID.
He did.
Because if you remember, those who don't remember, at the time that COVID had clearly started, Rudy Gobert was a staunch denier of COVID-19. So
touching all the mics, right? He touched all the mics, and then like
touched all the mics.
Yeah.
And shortly after, his entire team or several of the members of his team tested positive for COVID-19.
Yep. One
of them being Donovan Mitchell. Which is one of the reasons they had a breakup in Utah and they both had to be traded. So in any case, yes, they blame him. He touched all the mics. He got people COVID. The league shut down shortly thereafter. Like his incident happened, and I want to say a night later the league shut down. Right? And after the NBA shut down, you might remember kind of the world, or at least America, shut down.
Yeah, the America.
The NBA kind of hit there. Then then America was just like, oh shit, we and no one's going to work. And then the pandemic kind of started, if you will, so to speak, like right in for us in America. So Rudy Gobert did that. He is someone that is wildly arrogant, which may be kind of expected because he's French. Sorry for any French people watching or French-leaning people. Jer. He's wildly arrogant, and his arrogance is kind of unearned. He's a good player. Should he be arrogant? Probably not. Most athletes believe in themselves to a degree that us regular humans don't, for better or for worse. So, in any case, he's kind of like a loser in that way. The people don't like him. He tried to spit game at some reporter. It was really whack. You can kind of see. I think he maybe deleted the Instagram comment. But
wait,
it was
like a female reporter?
Yes.
Wow.
So yeah, Taylor Rooks. I should probably drop that in the chat. Is Taylor Rooks, if you look her up, um, is a reporter who is quite beautiful, who covers the NBA,
Okay.
and she posted like a picture of herself on on Instagram, and Rudy Gobert kind of tried to shoot his shot, and let's just say it was kind of exactly like how he shoots in regular basketball, terrible and coming up short as usual. So it was Rudy Gobert anyway who tried to shoot his shot, which is also whack. And he's someone who has won Defensive Player of the Year multiple times, but a lot of players around the league feel like that's unearned. And this is actually an interesting division between the analytics side of the NBA. I don't want to call it the analytics side, but people who attention to the analytics and believe in them, so I guess, or think of that they're valuable to look at, versus a lot of people who don't, and many of those people who don't are players. So like a lot of the league, a lot of the analytics kind of leaning people look at Rudy Gobert as an extremely valuable and really good defender. A lot of the players in the league feel like he's just a stiff who's really easy to walk around and score on. Like he's kind of like a joke. And so there's kind of this division between all of that, and that makes players kind of resentful because Rudy Gobert has been rewarded handsomely for his services. He's on a max contract. The T Wolves traded 4 first-round draft picks for him. 4. That's the same amount as the Phoenix Suns traded for Kevin Durant. To put that in perspective, you basically paid the same price for Rudy Gobert as a team paid for Kevin Durant. So, like that's the thing. So he's on the team, and a lot of the team just doesn't respect him. They just think he's just a whack ass dude, right? So anyway, one of his teammates, Kyle Anderson, called him the B word, and you can kind of look that up if you want. Basically, caused a reaction from Rudy Gobert, where Rudy Gobert pulled a doll seam and used his fucking super go-go gadget arms and punched Kyle Anderson in the chest. Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert had to be separated after that. Rudy Gobert was kicked out of the game, and he was told by his coach to go home. So he left home, and he was suspended for their game yesterday against the Lakers.
Which they lost.
But still, they probably played better than they would have had Rudy been there. No offense to Rudy, but that's just the harsh truth.
Wait, real quick, what was that? What was that lady's name, real quick, that you mentioned?
Taylor.
Okay.
And then Rooks, like a rook on the chessboard, but just with plural.
Because I could not find that at first. Oh, it was during an interview. It was like
maybe I thought it was on an Instagram comment, but maybe it was something else. I don't know. In any case, Rudy is a weird guy. So anyway, the T-Wolves paid a lot for him. I forget where I was with all of that, and they suck. And we got suspended. And Rudy had to issue an apology to Kyle Anderson. Like he issued an apology on Twitter and on Instagram, I think, about like, hey, I'm sorry, I was out of line for doing that. Some players came out and were like, that was wrong of Rudy to do that shit. Like I can't believe it. And I guess I come from it from a different perspective. And my perspective is, if another grown man calls you a bitch a B word
you're fine. You're fine. We're past the time.
Okay. So a bitch, right? if he says that to you, right, as a grown man in the manner that Kyle Anderson did, right? Like there could be times you're fucking around with your friend, you're just like, oh, you fucking bitch, you know what I mean? Like you're just kind of like just joking around like that, right? You can say it. But in this way, I'm saying he's saying in an aggressive fashion, right? In a dismissive fashion. Mm-hmm. If someone says that to you, someone who's like you're not even cool with and stuff, like those are fighting words a little bit. You have to stand up for yourself in that situation, I think. right? Especially if you're playing NBA basketball, right? It's different if you're at the post office or something, but you know what I mean? If you're playing NBA basketball and you're in that situation, in that kind of environment, you have to stand up for yourself. And Rudy did. And I don't understand why people don't understand why people are so against Rudy for this. This is like one of the few times where it's like, dude, Rudy did the right thing. In fact, and I don't know if this helps my case or hurts my case, but Draymond Green agrees with me. Draymond Green was on his podcast and he was like, "Listen, it was kind of wrong, but it was good that he did that." And he goes, "And I'm glad that he stood up for himself," which is exactly how I feel. But I feel like that's the minority opinion, and having Draymond Green as my ally is not exactly the best ally to have, right? So I don't know about that, but that's the thing with Rudy Gobert, and that's a pretty interesting situation. There's another one at the end of at the last game of the season between the Clippers, Bones Highland and Mason Plumlee, which interesting name combination in a fight, right? Mason Plumlee, sounds like America's finest, and then it's like Bones Highland, It's the black guy from the Bronx or something, It's like versus the white guy from like the Midwest. Mason Plumlee versus anyway. That was not good. I tried to be funny there. So anyway, yeah, the Rudy Gobert situation, terrible, and he got suspended, but he's gonna play this. He's gonna play this Friday. And they take on the loser or the winner, excuse me, of the game that is going on right now.
The Pelicans versus the Thunder.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, there's been a lot of scuffles. That Rudy Gobert situation is obviously probably the most prominent one, given the players involved, given what the T-Wolves traded for Rudy Gobert, given what the expectations were for the T-Wolves coming into the season, given how they underwhelmed given those expectations coming into the season. This was probably the most high profile of those incidents. But yeah, we've had a lot of little skirmishes, I guess, or they've just been more seen. I don't know. But yeah, this year it's been different and weird. Yeah.
And we have on the screen right now, we have Rudy's apology that he wrote on Twitter, which is crazy. Like, he got suspended from, or asked to leave a game, suspended from a play-in game, and then also had he probably was told that he had to write this Twitter apology, where he actually apologizes to Kyle, the guy who called him a bitch.
That's what it says?
Well, it doesn't say this is the guy that called me a bitch. It says, emotionally got the best of me today. I shouldn't have reacted the way I regardless of what was said. I want to apologize to the fans, the organization, and particularly Kyle, who is someone that I truly love and respect as a teammate.
The question that Rudy Gobert needs to ask himself is, does Kyle Anderson love and respect him?
Obviously not.
The answer is no.
No.
Obviously not. Obviously not. Bomani Jones had a good point, which was, call someone a bitch, you're going to find out really quickly if they are one. Which I like. Is a really well said statement. And yeah, that, hey, Kyle Anderson found out a little bit, Not that Rudy Gobert hit him hard, but he should have. I think he tried maybe, but it's kind of like, he doll seamed him in the shoulder. That was about it. Yeah.
So let's
anyway, that's the Rudy Gobert situation.
Yeah, we'll get off the Rudy Gobert. And let's get right into, here we go. Here's the play-in tournament as well as the standings or the brackets as they are right now. So we still have the Pelicans and the Thunder who have to play, and then the winner of that will play the Timberwolves for the final play-in. And on the other side, the Hawks won. They beat the Heat. So the Heat now will play the Bulls for the final play-in, because I guess the Bulls beat the Raptors earlier today, correct?
Yes, they just did. Yeah, it was a pretty good game too. Yeah.
So that will make the final position. Who will play the Bucks in the first round, and then the Hawks will now move in and play the Celtics in the first round. We now have the Lakers, who went into overtime, if I'm not mistaken. They make it in. They're playing the Grizzlies, who I actually went and saw a game just a couple weeks ago. Awesome. In the first round. And then I guess we'll break it down here too. We have my, not so much anymore, but my former team of the Golden State Warriors, aka the San Francisco Warriors, versus the Sacramento Loser Kings. We also have the Clippers versus the Suns, and then the Nuggets and whoever they play. Before we get over to the Eastern Conference, I did want to point this out because I saw a little article on this. This is the first year in history, Siddhu, for what?
All California teams are in the playoffs
All
at the
four
same time.
California teams are in the playoffs this year. Pretty unbelievable. I guess you have to, like in video games, they call it pay to play. Well, here in California, we pay to play basketball. So all four of our teams are in the playoffs, which is insane, man. That's insane, bro.
It is, and it's especially insane for the Clippers and the Kings. I mean, I think the Warriors now, at least this last decade, because I don't think their run started. I mean, even before their championship run started, they were started making the playoffs in like 2013. So this last decade, the Warriors have always been a playoff team, so you kind of expect them there. The Lakers have traditionally been a good team, although their playoff record this last decade is a lot spottier than you might think if you didn't look it up and actually kind of go into it. But the Kings being in it is huge. There's a reference I had to another article about the Kings, but the Kings being there is huge, and the Clippers too. The Clippers and the Kings traditionally suck, and them both being there is the Kings being there is a big deal. The Clippers, there's huge expectations for them about winning the championship. So like being in the playoffs is not a big deal, but let's just say for the organization as a whole, making the playoffs is actually a big deal.
Yeah. So what California team do you think makes it to the Western Conference? There are 4 California teams. One of them has got to make it to the Western Conference.
The finals, you mean? The Western Conference Finals?
Yeah, the Western Conference Finals. Yeah.
I think the best chance is going to come from the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors, the bracket has really set up nicely for the Warriors. They're playing a Sacramento Kings team that has not been to the playoffs in 16 years, which is going to have a lot of momentum and a lot of crowd frenzy. The tickets are going at a ridiculous rate right now in Sacramento for these games. I expect the atmosphere to be crazy. Like, even if you're not a basketball fan, you should put your TV on 5:30. I think it is their game on Saturday on ABC. You're gonna want to see what that crowd feels like and looks like in Sacramento. It's gonna be special. Like, it really is gonna be kind of cool. So that, but as special as that is for Sacramento, and as much adrenaline as they are gonna be able to kind of get and like have pumping through them, given what's going on, the Warriors are just a better team, and they're better suited for the playoffs, and they have the best player. And usually, if you have the best player, especially when the best player is as good as Steph Curry,
Draymond Green.
sure, when it's Steph Curry, then you have a great chance to have a lot of success. So I expect the Warriors to win that series. It might go 6 games. It maybe even go 7.
Yeah.
Maybe it does. But ultimately, you're talking about Steph Curry in a game 6 or game 7. I'm taking that man over whatever you got for the Kings. And
it's
again,
the Kings.
I know we're looking
it's
way
the
ahead.
Kings, man. If the Warriors lose to the Kings, it's the biggest embarrassment that's happened to the Warriors in a long time.
See,
it is. This is Northern California, and there's only one basketball team. It does not matter, Siddhu. It does not matter, Siddhu. I'm sorry to step in on this one subject. As the resident Warrior fan out of the two of us, there's no way they should lose to the Kings. I will be heartbroken. I think that, and this is a personal thing, and maybe you'll deny me on this. I think that if the Warriors were to lose the Kings, let's just say the Lakers were playing the Clippers in the first round, it'd be a bigger upset than the Lakers losing to the Clippers. Get the hell out of here, Kings. You got to be kidding me. Sacramento, have you been there recently? Talk about a trash town. No offense, man. I know it's our state capital, but oh my goodness. No.
I am I'm old enough to remember a time when Sacramento was like Northern California's team when they were going against the Lakers in the playoffs in the early 2000s.
True.
Sacramento had everyone cheering. Like the Bay here, people were cheering for Sacramento.
Yeah, Addie's family.
Now, obviously, those Addy, of course, was a huge Kings fan. I mean, he used to bleed purple and black. You know what I mean? That was his shit.
His aunt had season tickets.
but,
His
like,
his family is from Sacramento. I will say that, and his aunt had season tickets. She gave us a pair of tickets at one point, so I will back the McNaughton family on why they were semi-Kings fans. I think Addie's going to be real heartbroken with this first round. He's going to act like he's not, but he's a DL Kings fan.
He might be. I don't know.
I'm making that up.
I think
but...
he might be cheering for Steph, but like,
yeah,
I think. But like, yeah. So the Warriors, like, look, it's. I expect them to win, but the Kings are a really good basketball team, and I hope for their sake, in some ways, they have a good showing because everyone's expecting them to just crash and burn, to show up and just get just wasted. Just get wasted by the Warriors. So let's hope they do something a little bit more than that. But anyway, if the Warriors win that, then they play the winner. I know we're looking way ahead. If the Warriors win that, then they play the winner of the Grizzlies-Lakers series. If you're the Warriors, you need to look at both the Grizzlies and the Lakers and be like, yeah, we can take both of them. And you can. You're a better team than both of those teams. So it's really sitting up nicely for the Warriors to like make a run here and to really go for it, and try to get back to the finals again. So that they would be my pick of the California teams to get to the conference finals.
I appreciate that, but
if not them, the Lakers.
I'd be surprised. I mean, I've watched a few games over the season of the Warriors, and quite a few of them were losses. This was not one of our better years. But then again, we're coming off a championship. They didn't really play. Maybe they knew that they didn't need to play heavy or good, whatever you want to say. And then they're going to try to step it up now into the playoffs. What about the Suns, man? With KD, the ring chaser himself, the snake in the bushes, as we all know, that he really is. Also, I have a bunch of jerseys on my eBay channel, so be sure to bid on my Kevin Durant basketball jerseys that I no longer want. Does the snake and what's his name? Gosh darn, I cannot think of his name. Not Devin Brooks, the other guy.
Dylan Brooks. Fucking Devin Booker. Sorry. Oh god damn it. Yeah, Devin Booker.
No, not him. The famous one. He was on the Clippers. Come on now, Tubi.
What?
The famous
Chris Paul?
Chris Paul. Thank you, Siddhuey. Do Chris Paul and Durant have a chance? That's really what. Let's get down into it. Do they have a chance against these LA Clippers, or what do you think?
They are the favored team over the LA Clippers, and they were probably going to be favored throughout the playoffs. I think depending on whoever they play. The Suns, look, they've got really high end talent, and high end talent matters in the postseason. And I think they're going to have a really good chance to get far. Look, they've hardly played together. They are so injury prone. I have no faith in them going 2 months without an injury. So, and I don't want to hear the excuse of, oh, we would have won, but then, Chris Paul got hurt, or Kevin Durant got hurt, or Devin Booker got hurt. It's like those guys always get hurt. Yeah. So you should have expected that. So it's not like that's an excuse, So if they can stay healthy, which is a huge if, they have a really good chance. But you know what? They don't look that fluid. Yes, the points per game and the stats look like what they do, but if you actually watch them play, they don't look as fluid as the numbers suggest. And I think slightly worrying to me because one of the traits about the Suns is they're generally a pretty, fluid, flowing team. And they're not that right now. They're kind of stagnant. And I don't know why that really is because it should work better with KD, but for some reason it's not. Nonetheless, they have enough individual talent to get like shots off and score. But Chris Paul looks old. This isn't the Clippers Chris Paul. This is an old ass Chris Paul. He is every bit of his 37 years, I think, which he 37 or 38 years old, whatever he is. He's every bit those years. He shows it constantly, and I have no faith in him being the third guy to help them get across the line. And they're also a team, by the way, that shoots a lot of jump shots. They don't get to the free throw line a lot, and those teams generally don't have success. I know they got to the finals a couple of years ago doing that, but look, that run, I'm going to say it, kind of fraudulent.
Okay.
So I don't feel like they are as strong as people suggest, but the Western Conference isn't that strong in general. And they might be strong enough to get past the teams in the West, despite not being that great of a team.
Okay. You cut out a little bit there at the end, but it's fine. Let's move right on over to I see. Siddhuey's not only is he here live with us, he's also talking in the chat. So to anyone that's watching after the fact, make sure to tune in because you can really react with Siddhuey here live. Let's move right over because Siddhuey, we're already at 35 minutes. I want to point that out at you. You were worried about us not doing the time. We still have 3 more tabs that we've pulled up, and we haven't even talked about the Eastern Conference yet. So I don't think time is going to be an issue here.
Let's jump to it.
Let's jump to the Eastern Conference. Is there any team in particular that stands out to you? The Celtics were nuts last year, in my opinion. Do you think they have a chance here against the Hawks? Do they make it to the Eastern Conference? Who do you see? Who you like? Give me some Eastern Conference.
Well, let's start right there with what your question was. The Celtics should coast past the Hawks. The Hawks aren't very good. The Celtics match up really well against the Hawks, and the Celtics have a much better talent. They should get by pretty easily. The interesting first round matchup for the Eastern Conference, if you really want to watch, is the Cavs versus the Knicks. A lot of people have high hopes for that series. I'm not as optimistic. I think it'll be good. I just don't think it'll be a 7-gamer that's just like a great series, a great first round series. And the reason I say that is Cleveland's defense is real. Like, they're a real problem. The Knicks' offense isn't that great. Julius Randle is hurt. I don't even know if he's going to play. If he doesn't play, they're not beating Cleveland. They're not even taking them to 6 or 7 games. So I think this series on paper has a lot of potential. I just think it's going to kind of be a dud. Like, it's going to have its moments, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, this series is great. This series is great. But when we end it, we're going to look at it and be like, you know what? Yeah, it had moments, but overall it was But nonetheless, I think you should tune in to see it because Madison Square Garden in the playoffs is unbelievable to watch. It's just a great crowd. And Cleveland as well in the playoffs, it's really fun crowd too. And they're also a fun team. They have Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley. They got Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. They got a lot of fun players over there. So it should be cool to just see them play. And Jalen Brunson for the Knicks is really good. So that's the first round series to watch. Overall thoughts on the conference, I expect the Milwaukee Bucks to win the conference, and I expect the Milwaukee Bucks to win the title. They were my preseason pick, so yeah, I'm a little biased maybe about picking them. But they have the best record in the NBA. They have the best player in the NBA.
No.
They do. And that is something that's just clear at this point. Giannis is the best player in the game. So
can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
While we're on Giannis for 1 second, did you watch the Giannis television series on Disney Plus? Just asking.
I saw his movie. I don't think that the television series is based on him. I thought the movie is based on him, but not the television series. That's based on something else.
I thought the TV. Is there a movie that's also by Disney Plus about his like childhood and?
Yeah, that's what I watched. Yeah, Rise.
Was it good?
That's his movie. No, it's not good. But it's a Disney movie about a.
Was it because the child acting wasn't great and stuff like that, or was it just like the storyline's kind of whatever?
The storyline's whatever. I mean, it's kind of it's cool because it's a true story, so it's cool in that way. And it's not really dramatized. Like those things that they bring up are like that's actually Giannis' story.
Oh, okay.
But it just wasn't. I don't know. It just didn't. those movies are generally going to be cheesy.
Made
So
for
you're going to
kids.
have to kind of win me over. Yeah, you're going to have to win me over with something kind of just special, and it just didn't have it. The acting wasn't good. The ball playing wasn't good. There wasn't anything to kind of keep. It wasn't bad either, like so bad that you're just like laughing all the time. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of like that weird middle ground where it's just like,
Okay.
you know.
All right.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting.
Um,
But go back to what you were talking about.
but
My
yeah.
bad. Move on.
No. So yeah. So I would think I have the Bucks as the favorite to win the East and to win the NBA Finals right now. But I would not be surprised in the slightest if they both came up short in the Eastern Conference or in the Finals versus the Warriors or the Nuggets, for example, or in the Eastern Conference against the Boston Celtics, who the Celtics are such a strange case. Last year, I don't think it is a hot take to say that the Celtics, on talent purposes, were a better team than the Warriors. On talent. Overall talent, they were a better team than the Warriors. And that talent should have been enough for them to win the championship. But you can't call them a better team because, one, they didn't win the championship, and two, and most importantly, you can't be the better team when you turn over the ball as often as they did in that series. So it was kind of a bizarre thing. It was like, of all this talent, you should win. Why are you doing this? But they kind of just like derped out, and it was like, okay, this isn't for them, right? They come back this year and they start like a house on fire. They're beating everyone. They're playing great. So it's like, oh, okay, this team's coming back serious. They're coming back to win the title this year. They learned from last year. The Warriors gave them a whooping last year that they showed them what it was. They're coming back and they're gonna come back strong and win. And then they tailed off massively towards the second half of the season, like from where they should be. Now they only lost the conference by like 2 games, so it wasn't like they screwed up huge.
1 game or 2 games. You're right. 2 games. Yeah.
2
games. Yeah.
But for where they were and the kind of quality of team that they have, they should be better. Now, they have oddly shown up in some big games where it makes you think, okay, maybe they're kind of like saving it for the playoffs and they can kind of get ready and go. But then you're like, dude, you're not like the Warriors where like we can trust you to think that you can save it for the playoffs and then just go. You're not that good of a team. So I don't know about the Celtics, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if they got all the way to the finals. The fun pick, the trendy pick for some of the if you want to be a little bit hipster is to pick the 76ers to win the conference.
James
Yeah,
Harden.
I saw the face. There you go. That one name, those 2 words, is why I, as a human being, can't believe in the Philadelphia 76ers. And more importantly, if you don't want to, if you want more like hardcore proof in not believing in them, James Harden, when he got injured, I think it was around midseason in the All-Star period, I believe it was. When he came back, he has never been the same since he was the beginning of the season. And the beginning of the season, he was already a reduced player from where he was in his Houston days. But at least he was still good. He's not that player now. And if he is going to have that many issues playing the way that he is, Philadelphia is not coming out of the East. Like Joel Embiid is great, but I don't think he is great enough to overwhelm the teams that they're going to have to overwhelm to get to the conference finals or to get to the NBA finals. So a lot of it rests on James Harden. I don't trust him. I never will until I see it. That's just me. That could be harsh, but that's just me. So I'm not believing in the 76ers. The pick is between the Celtics and the Bucks, who many believe are the 2 best teams in the league, period. Which is I don't think is a hot take at all. But I'm picking the Bucks. I just think they've been more consistent. And again, I'm trusting in Giannis and that defense. And we've seen them do it before. We've seen Giannis go through teams before. We've seen him close out an NBA Finals with the 52, 14, and 5, I believe, and like 5 blocks or something. So he's stamped. He's proven, right? No one else in that conference is. So I'm going to take the guy that is, the team that is. I'm going to pick them to come out of the conference and to win the title. but I would not be surprised in the slightest if we're sitting here at the end of round 2 and they've lost to the 76ers, or they've lost to like the Cavs or some shit. Like honestly, that's totally within the realm of possibility.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on the East, basically.
So who do you think is in the NBA Finals altogether? Who's facing off here? Let's get the Siddhuey prediction.
The Bucks, like I said, the Bucks are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
The West is one that's super hard to call. I honestly have no idea. I'm shooting in the dark, so I'm just going to say the Warriors. But they're a 6 seed. And look, man, I know it sounds crazy because like they're only playing the Kings, and yes, they're only going to play perhaps Memphis in the next round or something. Maybe they get lucky and the Lakers win, and then in that case they have home court. But if you're playing on the road for 3 straight series, that's hard. I don't care who you are. That is hard. It is hard to do that travel. It is just we've in NBA history we haven't seen a team like really do that. I mean, we have seen a couple, but it's just not common.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to go on the road like that. Now,
Definitely.
Again, the counter to that and the reason I'm picking the Warriors is if there is any team that can do that, it's this team. Battle tested. Like, playoff hardened. Right? A mentally strong team led by a generational player who's also mentally strong, who has that ability, and this is key. Your superstar has to have this ability for the playoffs. And this is what we're still wondering about Nikola Jokic, but we're not wondering about Steph Curry or Giannis, for example. Is you're walking into the building, right? Your coach, other players like, hey, bro, you need to get 50 tonight for us to win. And that guy going into the game knows, all right, I gotta get 50, right? And he tells his team, he tells his coaching staff, yeah, I got us. I can do this, no problem. Steph Curry can do that. And he's gone out and done that in the biggest games, and he's proven himself. Giannis has done that, right? So we don't know about the other guys in the conference. Embiid looks like a guy who could do that, but, we don't know. So anyway, in the case of the Western Conference, because Steph Curry is that type of guy, because they have that kind of team around him that knows how to play solid defense and hit timely shots, I'm picking the Warriors to come out of the West, but I am picking the Bucks to beat them in the finals, let's say in 6 or 7 games.
I don't like that prediction, but I'll take it. But I'll take it. All right, well, so it sounds like we got our thing, and now we have 3 other tabs. We're at 47 minutes, just so you know, Siddhu, just to point out that I knew we would go longer than you thought.
No, we'll see. I think I covered like the Kings tab, but we'll see. What is it?
And you kind of covered a little bit of the Lakers too. I did see the interview with LeBron with AD coming over, and the whole little interview that had happened yesterday was pretty comical. Yeah, so this is the first article you sent me. It was Lakers outlast Timberwolves in overtime, claiming 7th seed in the West. As a Laker fan, I'm sure you were very excited last night. Is there where do you want to jump off on this article here?
I want to jump off about the quality of the game that we saw last night. Oftentimes, we say that if a game is close and has a close ending, like the Lakers game did, like there's high drama, that means it's really good, right? And there's a difference. Drama does not equal quality. What we saw last night was absolutely terrible. It was, and this was, how do I put this? It's like a bunch of kids in a playpen just kind of chasing a ball or something. And just kind of just crashing into each other. And just kind of, it was terrible basketball. If that was NBA basketball, or the kind of quality of playoff basketball, we're in for a shit ride, basically. Okay? It was just not good. And the reason I bring that article up and I bring that game up is a trendy pick to make the finals is the Los Angeles Lakers. And the reason for that is the Los Angeles Lakers have the best record in the Western Conference since the trade deadline. Since they kind of reshaped their team, got rid of Westbrook, got these new players in, they had the best record. They've also gone to the free throw line an ungodly amount of times. Partly because Anthony Davis is playing center now, and Anthony Davis is basically a gargantuan man who every time they throw the ball into him, he just grabs it like his arms just super raised, and just like people are fouling him and trying to put it in. He's just like a robot or something. So that's a trendy pick. The reason I bring up this game is on the evidence of that game, on the evidence of 99% of the Lakers season. They have no business even winning a game in the first round. Yet and still, I am picking the Los Angeles Lakers to beat the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round. And I'm doing so because I think the Grizzlies are missing some inside players, some important players. Jaren Jackson Jr., their only real big, gets in foul trouble a lot. If he gets in foul trouble against AD, that really benefits the Lakers. So I think the Lakers can win. But again, based on last night's game, you would not think that. But I'm going to pick the Lakers to win because I want to see the highest rated second round basketball series that we have probably seen in a very long time. Golden State Warriors playing host to the Los Angeles Lakers. Steph Curry playing host to his number one frenemy, LeBron James. This is going to be the most interesting series for, I think, I know me and you two, we're going to love the crap out of this because we're both fans of
both teams.
Yeah, so it's going to be amazing just to watch that. But as a neutral even, this is as tantalizing as it gets. These two heavyweight players.
That know each other really well.
Players that know each other really well, that show up at weddings together, right? Because remember, for example, at Draymond's wedding, they were both there taking pictures together.
Yeah, him and LeBron are really good friends. They invested in company together and everything. Yeah,
but again, you could be a business of someone you don't like.
Yeah, no, that's true too. That's true too. I don't really like Addy. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Steph has, anyway, so there's an interesting dynamic there. But what is unquestioned is they're the two most watched players and the two most talked about players in the league since about 2014. And since that point, these two have been the biggest players in the game. Right? You can argue who's the best player. Neither of them at this point in time, to me, are the best player in the league, but they're the most important players. They're the biggest players. They're the players that you could go to your grandma who knows nothing about, basketball, and you could say, hey, Steph Curry, and she'll know him. She'll know the name, or she'll have seen the face. LeBron James, same thing. Giannis, as great as he is, does not pass that test, right? Even with the title. So I want to see that series really bad. I'm a little selfish. I want to see that series, even though it'll be totally chaotic for our friend Fats, who's not watching this. But for Fats and, all of us, it'll be really chaotic, but it'll be fun. And that's something I really want to see. And I know the playoffs haven't started. They start this Saturday. Tune in. It's an all-day affair. It'll be fun.
TNT?
ESPN, I think, has all the games that day. Maybe TNT has the morning games, but the game that you can't miss is the Warriors Kings 5:30, I believe it is, Saturday night, ABC. That's the game of the day. Everything else, it's like a boxing heavyweight. Everything else is the undercard, your undercard fights, and then you get to the main card. The main card is Kings Warriors. So tune in for that one. But in any case, what we really should be looking ahead somewhat to, the first round will be the first round. There probably won't be too much to talk about. It'll be the potential second round matchups. I'll go over them really quickly because I won't bore anyone, right? In the West, Warriors, Lakers, like we just talked about, right? Nuggets, the number one seed, Jokic versus the Suns. Eastern Conference, Giannis versus the Cavs, and then the Celtics versus the 76ers, right? Could be some real heavyweight matchups in the second round. But anyway, that's the breakdown on the Lakers. They are favored to go far, but I would not bet on that at all. I would expect them though to beat the Grizzlies. If there's a good value bet for you, Siddhuey says put it on there, but I am not liable for your losses. But yeah, go ahead and do that on the Lakers. So yeah, that's my little piece on the Lakers.
Okay, so we'll click off that one. Your next thing was Kings playoff tickets have average prices of 500. I think this is an easy topic to talk about. I think I, of all people, would know a lot about this from being a former season ticket holder here in the Bay Area and getting pushed out. I'm assuming the article here is explaining that because we are so close to Sacramento, the price has skyrocketed because a lot of people have moved, not just now, a lot of people are willing to drive up there, but a lot of people have also moved. People we even are friends with have moved to Sacramento because it's cheaper than living here in the Bay Area, which then, if the Warriors are now playing them in the playoffs, skyrockets the price of the Kings games. Pretty simple math there. Am I wrong to make those conclusions, or what do you got here to do?
No, I think those conclusions are pretty valid. But I think the thing to really take away from this, and it's kind of tying into as I was previewing the Western Conference and also the games this Saturday, is just the fervor, excitement over the Sacramento Kings being in the playoffs. Like, look, I know it's like crazy that they haven't been in there for a long time, and it's easy to make fun of them for it, which you should, and you should continue to do so. But it's going to be fun to see them there. And the $500 is more to me just a symbol of people are really caring about the Kings and they want to see them in the playoffs, and the atmosphere is going to be nuts. How the team reacts to that atmosphere is going to be really fascinating. I think they will find some adrenaline, but sometimes if you don't know how to manage that, man, you can kind of lose yourself. You know, they said lose yourself in the sauce a little bit there. They can lose themselves. And if they do so, it's just going to be easy pickings for a Warriors team that has dealt with pretty much the most chaotic playoff atmospheres you can ever deal with. So that's kind of also something to kind of tie in. But look at the positive, Sacramento Kings. You're in the playoffs and you're playing against the Warriors, and it's gonna be fun as hell in that first game. Enjoy the crap out of it if you have tickets.
Okay. Okay. Turn the what is it? What is there? The lightning beam on. Like, get the hell out of here. The dumbest catch.
Light the beam.
Light the beam.
Light the beam.
Light the
I
beam.
like it. I don't know why you dislike it. It's good. Light the beam.
It's just ridiculous. Okay, so that's enough of the Kings. That's the Kings tickets situation, and we're here on our final topic. And let me just check the time real quick here. We are at 57 minutes. So yeah, we're right on the line here. I have to say something real quick about Dylan Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Hate the guy. And my reason for hating him, I think Siddhuey's going to get a good laugh out of this one, isn't his beef with the Warriors and what him and Klay Thompson, when Klay was doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, which was hilarious that someone cut that up and put it with the infamous Kobe 1, 2, 3, 4. Love that clip as a Kobe fan. It's not that. This is deeper. This is as a person who has stood filming people for hours on hours. For hours on hours. The clip of him knocking over that cameraman was just disgusting. Just disgusting. He doesn't even put out a hand or an ooh, I'm sorry. He could have at least done a ooh, I'm sorry, but I got to get back to the game. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do a reach hand. He literally mugs the cameraman. The cameraman just doing his job, you know, getting paid, I would imagine, a fraction of what he is making. Shoves him on the ground. I'm sure those cameramen get taken pretty good care of in the grand scheme of cameramen. Just saying, it's a gig all the time. I don't need to get into super details about the cameramen, but I'm sure the NBA cameramen. Yeah. I'm sure that I'm sure they get health care. I'm sure they're getting a nice 401k. I'm sure they're being taken care of decently for being a cameraman. Nonetheless, compared to the dudes on the court, it's night and day. That clip definitely, I sent it to BK the minute I saw it, because I knew BKA would hate it for multiple reasons. a creepy clip. Now, that was before I went to Memphis. Now, I go to Memphis. I really enjoyed I really like going to other basketball stadiums and seeing the atmosphere of other basketball stadiums. I've been lucky enough to now see 3 or 4 different teams in their home stadiums. Seeing Memphis in their home stadium, I thought, Mr. Morant was going to be the big spectacle of the night. He had returned from his shooting scenarios, as you called it earlier in the show tonight. I call it the strip joint scenario, but whatever we want to call it, he had returned. I thought it was going to be a big night for him because when you're in that stadium, man, everyone's rocking a jersey. Kids got the haircut going, with the dyed front ends and everything. Like, it's crazy. He's clearly hometown hero. He sucked that night. He was not good that night. And crazy enough, I guess it's not even that crazy. Dylan comes in at towards the second half, and he really he's almost like Draymond in a way where the things he's doing aren't necessarily something that even it's not like he's scoring all the points, but you could tell his attitude and what he's saying to maybe the other players on the court is what's changing the tempo of the game. And I immediately acknowledged that dude is the backbone of that team. John Morant might be the flashy, cool guy, the Steph Curry, but clearly this dude is kind of like Draymond. He's kind of that backbone core of that team and what they're accomplishing. I was very impressed by him. And I was kind of almost disappointed by it because I kind of went in there with the mindset of this dude's a douchebag, and I came out of there like, wow, he's still a douchebag for that cameraman situation, but man, he's definitely a talented dude, and you could definitely tell he's kind of the future of he could be the future, maybe not even for them, but for a team. That's all. That was my little spiel I wanted to get out because I hated the dude, and now I kind of have a little bit more respect.
He is definitely a player who plays with a certain energy and a certain tenacity that rubs off on his teammates, and that can be inspiring for his team and can be galvanizing, right, for his team. But he is wildly irrational as a player. I think he has curbed some of that, and he's become a little bit better, but he is still someone who takes too many shots given the players that he plays with and the shots that they should be getting in place of his. And he's a player, honestly, that, yes, he is very solid defensively, very good, but he's not I wouldn't call him an all-NBA defender, And there's probably a pretty good chance he's gone at the end of this season because as much as he's kind of valuable to them, the reality is an inefficient shooting wing who is somewhat of an attitude problem on the court is not the best player to be investing in when you already have other players that kind of do what he does and can do it decently well. Now they may come to find out, just like when the Bulls lost Patrick Beverley this past year. They may come to find out that, I think it was the Bulls who lost him. Timberwolves, excuse me. The Timberwolves lost Patrick Beverley this past offseason.
Did he not start the season off with the Lakers? And then he ended
He
up
did, but last year he played for the Timberwolves, and I'm saying that when he leaving the Timberwolves like he did, right? So this past year he's
on the Bulls.
Yeah. So, but when he's leaving the Timberwolves, you wouldn't think it was a big deal with him leaving. But I thought they lost some spirit, some life without him. So you can't quantify necessarily how much a player like that can kind of make a difference sometimes. So I do want to give Dylan Brooks his credit for that. Nonetheless, he's an inefficient player who I don't think is a net positive. And I think he's someone that the team's going to have to move on from, one from just financial perspective, and also just to move forward as a team. So I don't believe in that, and I think and to tie it back to this article that's on the screen and what he said about LeBron James, the stuff that he's saying is totally fine with me, because I don't look at the NBA. Well, I look at the NBA in a couple ways. I appreciate the people who are real people, who are good actual people. Like Giannis, for example, is a good person. I appreciate him for that, or at least he comes across as a good person. I appreciate him for that. Steph Curry, same way. LeBron, for all his, and he has some faults. For all of them, the guy's been in the limelight since he was a sophomore in high school and has never had a major controversy. You should get that. That is a pretty big thing when you consider all the other type of people in entertainment
who
screw up all the time. Other than his hairline. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, like I appreciate the good people in the game. And I like to someone like Dylan Brooks, I'm never gonna cheer for him because I only cheer for the good people usually, and of course talented players. Like I'm not cheering for like the 12th guy who's like, yeah, you're a good dude. It's like, well, you better be a good dude, bro, because you wouldn't even be on the roster if you weren't. So like that's not even like a virtue. That's just like that's like a skill set, that you have to have. So it's like I don't even think it's a big deal. So it's like a good guy.
That's kind
The top end guys,
That's
right?
kind of a fucked up comment, but I know exactly what you're saying, doggy. I know exactly
It's
what you're
true.
saying. It's true. It's
True.
true. It's true. Yeah.
So it's true. So it's like, so I appreciate the good people, but nonetheless, this is an entertainment product. And I actually look at the NBA a lot like I look at WWE or something, where it's just like you need to have personalities to sell your product. And I think the NBA has suffered from not having villains. We haven't had real villains in the NBA since the Miami Heat with LeBron. They were a villainous. The first year they got together, everyone hated the Heat in a way that like was like, oh, we got to go after them. We haven't had a team like that since then.
You don't think the
And
Warriors, real quick, you don't think the Warriors were kind of that when we got KD? We were kind of that villain team for a little bit.
I don't think that vitriol spread the way that the Heat did.
Yeah.
So when the Mavericks won the title over the Heat in 2011, they had random people coming up to them in the street in like random cities saying, "Oh, I'm so glad you beat the Heat. Not that you won, that you beat the Heat." So it's like it was different. I think Kevin Durant just got a lot of vitriol. But for example, it didn't spread to Steph Curry. No one was hating Steph Curry. Whereas like Chris Bosh, who's a decent person, people hated Chris Bosh. Think about that. Chris Bosh looks like a T-Rex, like a dinosaur, like the Brontosaurus or something like that. A bronco, whatever that little thing is, with a big neck.
Yeah.
It looks like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He looks like that, and people hated that man. He's a nerd. Like he's literally a nerd who went to Georgia Tech. If you know anything about Georgia Tech, that's a nerd ass school, dude. Your freshman year, you had to take hard ass classes. You don't even get like easy classes your freshman year at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
That's where he went. Okay, he's a nerd, and people hated him. Hated that man. So I think it was different. But this Memphis team is hated. Right now, they are definitely, it's kind of turning in that direction, and the main reason is Dylan Brooks. And he's a good character for the game. So, bad person, agree with everything you said about him as far as like I agree with the part where you said like kicking the cameraman, but I don't think he has really that many redeeming qualities because I think kicking the cameraman is just so outlandish and stupid.
It was
and
more of a
ridiculous
shoulder check than a kick, but
shoulder check, whatever it was. That he
it was
did.
very WWE though.
Nonetheless,
It was very WWE like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is, but that cameraman didn't sign up for that.
100%.
And so nonetheless, that's just not right. So I hated that he did that. I don't like him, but he's a good character. He's a good character for the game, and Memphis is a good characters. Like they're a bunch of good characters for the game too.
Yeah,
we need them. Hate them all you want. That's good. Hate them, but appreciate what they mean to the tapestry of the NBA, the story of the NBA, right? Appreciate what they mean to that movie, if you will, so, or that television series.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went over my time, but yeah.
No. F the time, bro. But
I think I had some technical difficulties before anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. This is episode 1. I think, dude, you said a lot of good things. I think that your WW overall in the show, but we'll get to that in a second. But on this on this topic right here, the WWE comment, I think you come on to something that I think, you look at baseball and they haven't had a star, whether it be a hero or a villain, and that's kind of what's killing their industry altogether, is they seem not to be able to capture somebody that can be both those things and be good. On top of all that. Because you got to be good, and then you have to be that hero or the villain on top of being good. The NBA has had it, but you're right. It's been a lot of heroes and not a lot of villains. Patrick Beverley is probably the ultimate villain, that we've had. Heels is what Jerry's correcting us in the chat here. It is the terminology, I think, in the WWE is heels.
You're right.
but regardless, villain, heels, same thing. Yeah, I think you really that's a very good point to do. I really like
Great
that
comment,
point.
Chair.
Yeah, that was a great comment, Chair. That's the one of the best things I heard you say in a while, and I do get exactly what you're saying. I would, when you say that though, immediately the person that comes to my mind has been Patrick Beverley, and that's why like I love to hate him, but if he was on my team, he'd be one of my favorite players, I'm sure.
Yeah, yes, but Patrick Beverley is not a big enough name to really be a part of
He's
this
not
villain
good.
conversation in the league. Yeah, like a villain would be like when Kobe Bryant after like the rape case in Colorado, or actually, yeah, the rape. Seriously, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like I know some people want to duck that part of his story that happened. So like
yeah.
you can't duck that. You know what I
Vanessa
mean? There's
showed up
no
with a big
point in
ring
trying to act like it's sweep that under the rug. Yeah.
on the red carpet. Remember
Um,
that? I know you remember
but
that.
yeah, but the point was that's the kind of guy who got turned into a villain, you know, and you can call it rightfully or wrongfully. That's a larger discussion for later. But the point is that was like a villain. LeBron was a villain when he went to Miami.
Miami,
Was just
Yep.
hated when he went to but he was a big time player. So he mattered in the way like he mattered in the daily conversation of the game, if you will. You would talk to your friends about like the Heat and like what they were doing and like LeBron, you know?
Oh man,
You're
remember
not
that
talking to anyone
Gatorade special that they
effectively.
did? I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like when they all got
The
together, you know,
the
yeah,
announcement. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and how many championships they promised and
Yeah.
did
Not
not
one,
deliver on.
not two,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
three. Oh man,
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Um, so you know that was that was them. So in any case, you know Patrick Beverley, yes, he's a villainous, and we've had guys like
I was just
that
throwing it
throughout
out
the
as an
season.
example.
But
I was
yeah,
just throwing it out as an example.
yeah, but it has to be a team. You know, like think about the Bad Boy Pistons. They were villains.
Yeah.
And I think rightfully so because they played dirty fucking basketball. But you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like nonetheless,
Great documentary though.
um,
Great documentary.
great documentary.
Great documentary.
But like you know, this Memphis Grizzlies team has the kind of potential to be something like that Bad Boys team. Now I say it has the potential because in order for them to be that Bad Boys team, they need to actually win something. Okay? Because right now what they are just the Chris Paul Clippers, where they huff and they puff, but they never blow your fucking house down. Right? It's all a bunch of it's all that weak chin shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they'll talk a lot and they're front runners. Like when it really matters and when you really need to step up and do something, they just fold. Right? That's what the Memphis Grizzlies are. They're front runners. So if they want to be seen as like true villains, you need to take a villain seriously, right? Villain has to be taken. You have to believe their threat. Like, oh my God, they might actually win the title. Oh damn it! If they win, oh no! Like you're just gonna be pissed, right?
Yeah.
That's what you need. But if they can't, but if we always know they're gonna lose in the first or second round, why would we care? They're just a joke at that point, right? So they have the potential to be a great villain, but in order to do that, they have to actually win. You know.
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks is hoping to accomplish in this postseason.
Yeah. You did hit on one thing.
So, yeah.
I'm going to mention real quick because I think it would be a good episode. Is maybe we'll do a Kobe episode in the near future, and we'll talk about that off camera. We'll dial some links up and maybe make a whole little storyline out of it. We'll wrap it up right here. We did go 13 minutes, about 15 by the time I'm done wrapping up right now. Over our time, which I told you would happen. So Dewey was a little worried about an hour. He said, I can't talk for an hour. I barely chimed in tonight, guys, especially if you watched last night's show where I talk a lot. Me and Nick D talk quite a bit. Jerry's there. I'll say that, you know, not in a mean way, Jerry, you know. Me and Nick always are going, bro. Me and Nick are going. So, dude, you killed it tonight, man. I think this is a great first episode.
I don't know about that, but
You killed it. You had a lot of good insights. We do have some little technical difficulties that I obviously am picking up on. I'm sure Jerry, you know, he's in the chat. He's noticing stuff that we're going to work on, and we're going to fix this show up. And this, you know, but this is episode 1. It took us a lot of episodes. I said this at the beginning. It took us a lot of episodes to get it to where we are now with Over the Show. It's going to be the same kind of thing here with the Siddhuey Reviewy live. It's going to take us a little time to figure it all out. We're going to get it going perfect. That's not what I meant, Jer. I read your comment. That's not what I meant, Jer. I meant that we're all. I meant that me and Nick are like. I'm especially me. I'm not even trying to throw Nick under the bus, but me and Nick are always going about subjects with movies. That's not what I meant. Anyways, great show.
Shots.
Yeah, great show.
You should see our chat, Jared. It's crazy. It's all slandering you.
Siddhu throwing me under a bus like always. We'll be back hopefully next week, or if not, and maybe we're going to do a little bit more catch up with basketball. But I also next week, and I'm going to throw this out at Siddhu here live, because I know Siddhu's no longer a fan of this, but we are in the season. It just started, and they changed the rules. Siddhu, if you know where I'm going right now, they changed the rules this year. They've shortened the game. What am I talking about?
Baseball, baby.
Next week, we'll talk a little bit about baseball. And does Siddhu think that these rule changes are going to fix the issues that we've had in baseball? Does he plan on returning as an A's fan? We will find out next week on the Siddhuey Reviewy Live. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe. On this show, I don't think we're going to do hateful comments. Leave a comment about what sports or events you want Siddhu to talk about. Keep your hateful comments to the other show, please. No hateful here. I mean, if you want to, you can do whatever. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.